I haven't even watched this movie.
I was supposed to start with the super salad. I wanted the Shin salad. Welcome to the Shin Ultraman discussion, every pony.
The joke has to die
like
eventually.
croutons.
Marcus.
I was
Eventually.
wondering where you were going with that joke at first.
So, with that out of the way, let's introduce DawnBreaker.
Hi, I am. Oh,
Yes?
should I?
Yes, and your name and your shilling.
Oh, I just realized I had the stream running in the background, so I thought Marcos was talking.
No, I have
sounded
that too.
Really quiet. Oh, yo, let's go. Sorry, should I do my introduction
Yes.
again? I am so sorry. I thought you were still.
Oh my
talking. I
gosh,
was
we'll
like-
go to Gia then.
No, I can go. So, hi, I'm DawnBreaker. You can find me. You can find me right here on the Marcos channel and at DawnBreaker GDDC on Twitter or Dawn GDDC on Twitter. You'll find me. Just look up DawnBreaker. It'll pop up somewhere. Yeah.
Gia.
Yo, what's good, y'all? My name is Ghially, Gia on Twitter. I'm a graphic designer on Toku Twitter. I do commissions. Sometimes I make thumbnails for Marcos. I have my own channel where I sometimes do video essays every 10 years if I feel like it. But mostly, I do a weekly podcast with my friend Digital Jacob called CBT College Boy Tyson.
And a new face to the discussion, Mako.
Hi everybody, I'm Mako. Go by Mako Matari on Twitter. I don't really have like a YouTube channel or anything like that, but I do shitpost a lot about Ultraman on Twitter. So there's
You're the Ultraman guy.
pretty much. I have actually been recognized in VCs solely from that.
They are very, very good. Which is why I invited you here today, because we're discussing Shin Ultraman. Now, elephant or the big ol' Ganbara out of the room. Yes, there are ways to watch Shin Ultraman, but it's officially coming out to the United States, so please support it. I know I already am gonna buy my 5 tickets to watch it, so please support.
How we watched it was on a need-to-know basis and completely classified.
Honestly. So, Shin
Guys,
Ultraman.
Don't wait, there's a sniper outside, please.
Isn't this Super
Super right shit.
why did they have a sniper outside?
No one always has to solve it.
So Shin Ultraman, guys, I have been like the number one excited person ever for Shin Ultraman. Like Shin Kamen Rider, what's that? Shin Godzilla, not anymore. It's all about Shin Ultraman, and it all started from this really, really, really weird teaser image of him just standing like on the other side of a river.
I thought
Yeah.
that shit was fake. I can't cap.
I swear that image has like the exact same energy as like if he was T-posing.
Yeah, he's just standing there menacingly.
Yeah,
That-
we've all seen the memes.
That led me to believe that legitimately that Shin Ultraman was gonna be like some like avant-garde like horror film to a degree, because just like how like freaking scary he looked just like standing there, and how
Yeah.
skinny they made him. Yeah,
And
Oh, sorry. Can you imagine how much like creepier the film would have been if they'd like kept his Type A design that they showed at the start for the whole film?
oh yeah,
that mouth part on his Type A is really jarring.
And then you add in the FNAF 2 ambient.
Well,
Enough to-
even though Hideaki Anno played a big part in it, it was still written by someone
Higuchi.
else. Yeah, Higuchi.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can still see the Anno influences. After all, he was a very, very big fan of
big
Ultraman.
Ultraman fan.
Yeah, throughout the college years. So,
Yeah.
him achieving his dream is really nice to see, especially with his style of filming. I think Ultraman does lend itself to how he makes films, especially if you want to compare it to Shin Godzilla. It's not one for one as serious or anything like Shin Godzilla, but the influences are still there, like the big old set pieces, the cinematography, how Ultraman is this mysterious alien that presents himself. So, anyway, Don,
Yes,
initial thoughts on Shin Ultraman.
very good. It's I don't feel like it has like a traditional plot. It's like a remake of like the cast and crew's like favorite episodes, but that's what I really love about it. There obviously is like that overarching plot of like just the natural progression of events, but it's kind of like boom, 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 and then it's great. I love the CG. I love the way the characters are written. How I keep on wanting to refer to them as like their 66 names, but like I'm trying to remember like their original names because I know it's not Hayata and Fuji.
It was
Shinji.
yeah, Shinji.
Shinji, and the one that's like kind of like Fuji, but she has the bob cut.
The giant woman.
The one who turns the giant woman.
All I want to do.
See you turn into a giant woman.
Wait, no, sorry, it was Asami. I'm confusing her with
Decker!
Asami. Yeah, the main character of Decker.
Yeah, so Shinji, I like Shinji and Asami's chemistry. I don't know. It was just a really good film, and it's like it's much like what Shin Godzilla was, and that like Shin Godzilla was like a love letter to like the original like idea of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Shin Ultraman is also like I think to an even greater degree like a love letter to like 66 Ultraman, and Ultraman is like an idea as a whole. Even to the part where like Higuchi and Anno like dip into the freaking Tsuburaya archives and go into like the concept art for wait, can I go into spoiler territory yet?
Spoilers abound. Yes.
Okay, so spoiler alert, block your ears, kids, because I'm going into it. When they get Zoffy in, and Zoffy's there, and like how he's like black and gold and drawing I believe some concept art, and even I'll just refer to it as Shin Ultraman's design with not having the color timer, but like I think was like the original idea is that like the red drains, and that's how we finally get green Ultraman. Which, fun fact, if you haven't noticed, in the Ultraman back catalog, we have no green Ultraman because the green screen would have been a real bitch to chroma key. So this is technically our first green Ultraman. Yeah, it's just overall a great flick.
Yeah.
Can I say the initial thought that's kind of related? That's not related but unrelated but related?
Yes.
When I first watched Black Sun, I was like, holy shit, that's Ultraman.
What?
Like,
Character.
Yeah. He was both Black Sun and Ultraman.
Yeah.
No, wasn't he like the director? Wasn't he like Cap? Like Captain?
Yeah.
Captain?
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
are you talking about Hidetoshi Nijishima?
Yes.
Okay.
What was like the two big things of the year for part of the big
Yeah. We have an Oscar. No, he didn't win the Oscar. The film that he was in won the Oscar. Never mind.
Yeah.
Dude deserves props. But my initial thoughts is I have to preface. Am I an Ultraman fan? No. Am I a fan of Hideaki Anno? No. I haven't seen any of his work besides from this. So I'm basically entirely new. Mako knows I'm not that much of an Ultraman person. Mm-hmm. But when I watched this movie, I could not shut up about it. I was on Twitter saying it's the best thing ever. I was in Mako's DM saying it's the best thing ever. I was in Ballin Server VC saying it's the best thing ever. And like, it has something I like to call Chainsaw Man pacing. And it's that like I will be watching the movie, I'll blink, and I feel like I missed half of it.
Oh, it's a very fast-paced film.
Because I was just like, oh wait, we already know who Shin Ultraman is. Oh wait, there's an alien that comes to Earth that's working with the government. Oh wait, there's another alien that's who comes to Earth trying to work with the government. Oh wait, Zoffy is here and he's saying it's 23 hours before the fucking blows up the Earth. I was just confused because I didn't know if it was supposed to be like Ultraman lore or lore that they made up for just for this movie.
No, it's Oh, sorry. I was gonna say it's from the show. That a lot of the plot points and lore is from the show.
I think it's a. I don't know if I'd say a good representation of what I've seen Ultraman to be, from the shows I've been trying to watch. But in general, I feel like it could be something akin to maybe like Kamen Rider Zeto, of just
Right.
if you have no real idea of the medium of Toku, maybe, or you want a vague concept of this certain franchise, it'd be something cool to watch.
Yeah.
'Cause that's how it felt for me, and I enjoyed seeing how ultimately the main character wasn't really even the main character, Shinji Kaminaga, whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more it's really Ultraman himself feels like the main character, which I was surprised at. And to the point where they gave him his own name, so he's not just Ultraman.
Yeah.
I like that Ultraman is a hero title given to him by the Earth.
Yeah, because his real name's Lipia, which is from the manga.
That's
I did
so
not know
cool.
that. That's where they pulled that from.
That's a fact I learned from
Lipia.
Purpose.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that Zoffy showed up. Zoffy was funny. I thought it was funny. He was like gold and black. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just insert that picture where Zoffy is just like very close to the camera staring like that. That was my favorite thing.
Live
And
selfie
the
reaction.
Ultraman in this are so uncanny and like creepy and funny.
Oh yeah.
Like even if they're heroes, like whenever they stand, they just don't look real.
No,
Not in a the CG looks bad kind of way, but just like if I saw that outside, I would start crying.
I also like Zoffy's big dick energy.
Oh.
Because like when in the Mephiles fight, you just see Zoffy standing in the background, and then like Mephiles like, oh god, I gotta go. Hey man, been real fun. Gotta bounce. Yeah.
Honestly,
More
I
right,
like actually like laughed at that part because I'm like, oh my fucking god, is he that scared of Zoffy?
When Zoffy enters the room, you
And
go.
one thing I'd like to say I noticed the most that was my favorite part about it is that they really, for some reason, try to go in depth of how exactly Ultraman's powers work and how he can shoot beams out of his hands, how he can fly. And it's
Yeah.
like, from what I'm aware, in the actual Ultraman show, he just shoots beams wherever the fuck he wants, and he flies whenever the fuck he wants. So like, and it's just he flies. That's it. There's nothing to it. But I like he specifically manipulates the gravity around him, and he has no gravity. And they really portray that by instead of just him flying like he does and like show us stuff, he is like an action figure that they pull around the screen and do flips with.
Oh my
And it
God.
is so funny.
Yeah.
Like that final scene when Zedon was turning into a black hole and he was just trying to fly away out of it while I was crying. I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, it's very evocative of the original miniature work because it quite literally was an action figure being pulled on a string. Well, a miniature being pulled on a string, especially when he would get spun.
Not to mention,
Oh.
he used his flight or / gravity manipulation as like attacks too. When like he floated into the air, started doing a little flip around.
Oh
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay, that was something from like Showa Ultra that I never ever thought they would bring back, and I am so glad that they did.
Yeah,
Also, this movie really makes you forget that it's set in modern time. Like, the OST is so reminiscent of Showa, just as a whole.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
Oh,
and I love the OST. I love the OST to death. I love the trumpets, just the classic sound of it. Really makes me feel like it's the '60s. And then someone looks at the giant woman on their TikTok phone, and I'm like, what?
oh yeah.
What is going on here? It's 2022.
Okay, so Mako, initial thoughts.
So I feel kind of bad for saying this, but like, despite being a really big Ultra fan, I've only seen like 3 episodes of the original 1966 series.
Wow.
So
Oh.
the main thing that I was actually comparing Shin Ultraman to when I went in was Ultraman the Next, because that was like one of my childhood favorite films.
Oh,
Yeah, because like that was also intended to be like this reinvention, this like reboot of Ultraman, like a more realistic take. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I do think like Shin Ultraman like impressed me more. I love a lot of the nods that they made back to the old series, but I also really like the things that they did new. I think it ends up working out really, really well as this sort of balance. I do know that there are a lot of Ultra fans that did not seem to react well to some of the changes they made, particularly to characters like Zoffy, but like, I don't even think that's like entirely completely new for the series because we've had Ultras who are like that before. So like, to me, it just kind of felt like they were pulling bits and pieces. Like, it is mostly from 1966, but like, there are a couple nods here and there to like other concepts and other shows in the series, and I think that's really great.
I think what really ties everything together is that here in our own very call, that there's people from all across the world and different like backgrounds that have watched an Ultraman, and we can all clearly say, hey, we really like this movie, it was really good. Like we can see all the influences, or even if we haven't watched the original 66 show, we can still appreciate all the work put into it, because there was a lot of like suitmation that they tried, there was a lot of practical effects that they went with, giant lady part of it. Definitely a lot
Let's
of
go!
work into it. But I also want to delve more deep into how the movie itself was paced, as we brought up a little bit more, but also in that, yes, it was trying to put so many ideas together of like these different quote unquote episodes into one big movie, that it kind of started to seem like a mess, especially with the Chainsaw Man pacing. But as a big fan of Ultraman 66, I kind of wanted a little bit more, because I wanted to see more like, I don't know, like Bemular or Kimerman, or I don't know.
Well, honestly, you know what I can say the most about this movie? No matter what happened before a certain point, like I personally loved everything I saw. But even if I like hated every single scene, as soon as I got to the Rise to go get Zedon, I would have forgotten about all of it. I would have said it's the best movie of all time. The Rise is so good.
It's
It is
so,
so
fucking
good.
hard. It is great.
Oh man, and he does it twice too to defeat Zeton. Like dang.
And he does it to Shrink.
Oh man, it is so good. I see that there's all these little things, but all these pardon the pun, big things that just like come at you as Shin Ultraman, and like so I don't know if you guys remember, but like they released like a 10-minute preview of it on YouTube, like officially, and then they took it down. I have rewatched that so many times because I was so hyped, and I replayed like the first 2 minutes just for the Ultra Q nods in it. Like that was kind of unexpected. I did not think they would actually go through with that, because that must have taken a lot of time just to make like a 2-minute intro. But still, you know, like you even saw the nod to like Godzilla and I forgot his name. The first Ultra Q, Gomez. Yeah. And you see all the nods there, and then you see that like the rest of like the team and the rest of the monsters, and the effects are so good, especially in the modern day, the HDness, like the 4K, whatever. It just looks so good. And then you see the Type A suit arrive, like it's so good.
My favorite effect by far is just the entirety of the visual effects / you work for Zedon.
Yeah.
Because
that was so
I
good.
saw the original Zedon suit beforehand, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't really be scared of that. Like, that's just a little guy. Like, he's just a guy.
He's a little man.
and then in the movie, he's like this thing that's like 10 times bigger than a space satellite. And like even from Earth, it still looks pretty big. Which you have to be pretty fucking big to look that crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's terrifying, and it made a terrifying ass noise.
Yeah. I think my favorite effect is that, because they also tend to use the original. I'm pretty sure for Zedon they use like his original like kaiju noises.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite effect has to be the CG, because the CG makes everything look uncanny for Ultraman and a lot of the other monsters. But I think that works well, because I kind of felt like, because you know when you like look at an alien in a film and they tell you, look, it's an alien. I'm like, oh yeah, it's an alien. when I'm looking at this and they're saying like this is an alien, I'm like, yeah, this really feels like I'm looking at alien. I don't know what the hell I'm like believing what I'm seeing for me. It was like kind of like eerie. Especially like the way Ultraman would move sometimes. I think I'm trying to remember if it was the fight with Gabara or Naranga. One of them was able to shoot a beam from his mouth,
That
or
was
like via electricity.
that was Gabara, or the
Gabara,
one that
so
shot
the drill.
the one that shot like a radiation beam from his
Yeah,
mouth.
yeah.
Okay,
Because I know Naranga like absorbs electricity
Mhm.
and could do that. I was just trying to remember. What I mean by like why I like that fight particularly, because that's like when it's like the most eerie, because that's when Ultraman kind of like does like his like has like his arms eagle spread and starts like kind of like doing like this big walk to like tank the beam.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like moving like really funky. It's like, yeah, he wouldn't move of Earth. He probably wouldn't even obey Earth physics. He doesn't, and that's what is so great. That's what I love about looking at it so much. I think that was just like that specific moment, kind of like really like cemented, like, yeah, this is really good. Yeah.
I think everybody here can agree, like, The Rise is the best effects. I won't even go there. But, like,
Oh, yeah.
I can't even think, because I think I was going to say similar to what Don said, in that the CG really just helped the movie feel more alien, especially with the fights. Like, just seeing these things move in a way that isn't natural to us, but is most likely natural to an alien like Ultraman. It just feels otherworldly, and yeah, it looks weird, but it's like supposed to look weird, you know, and it still
Especially
looks
with Zarub.
Yeah, like
How he's like paper thin.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Well, just real quickly, that freaked me out at first, because I wasn't expecting them to be like hollow from the back, and then they revealed that during like one of the car shots, and I was like, wow, I did that. That's how they're going through with them. That's really neat. Like, you probably couldn't see that in the Showa era because of the limitations, but now that we see it, it's really cool.
Yeah. And, like, I guess to add on to what Don was saying, I guess I really, really like how just a lot of the kaiju and the aliens are animated in general. Because the changes that they made to their anatomy, like Gabara, for instance, having like the dual drill tails, that is not something that would have been possible in, like, 1966 through Suitmation. But it looks so cool here, and I love the creative ways that they use the changes that they've made to the kaiju and the alien anatomy.
Yeah.
It's so
Question
good
for everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do we feel of M87 by Kenshi Yonezu?
The song?
Yeah.
Yeah, that song's a banger for me,
I
at
like it a
least.
lot.
I love it, especially like because I was like in all the chairs, especially when it's like da, 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 da. Yeah, I love that part.
Kenshi don't miss. I don't think he missing.
Hell no, it's excellent.
Yeah, the music really helps a lot too. I mean, honestly, I'm not the biggest listener to like background music, but this movie had some really cool atmospheric songs, and we're just gonna keep bringing this up. But like in the last act, like him rising up and then fighting Zeton, like just like this really heavy music, but then it becomes scary. Is just like so good. I love this movie, but
it's so good.
It's so great. But I guess I should talk about a little bit about like the smaller fights, not just Zeton or Mephilas, but there's other like fights too. With,
Yeah,
like,
of course we could talk about the plot.
The little plot, or I mean, that's not little, but it just kind of strings along. Yes.
When I was looking, usually I like to be a nitpicker. I like to look for potholes in my stories, and for the most part, I didn't really have a problem. The only problem I had is that, like, okay, the first alien guy came down, and we got the government to trust him, and then he betrays them, and then like 2 weeks later, another alien comes down. He's like, "Hey, government, trust me," and they just do again.
I can only imagine the paperwork. Whoever's like the paperwork clerk or in charge of paperwork, he's like, "Oh, for God's sakes, not this shit again."
like Mephilas straight up pulls like the, "Oh yeah, I'm not like the last guy. I'm one of the good ones."
He's like, I swear, I'm not gonna betray you guys. Don't worry about me. And they're like, "Oh, sure, okay."
Yeah, it's that's that's part of the problem with the pacing, because those two aliens do appear side by side in what feels like 5 minutes from each other, but in the movie it is like 2 weeks, but to us it's literally like 5 minutes one after another. It is pretty cool how they introduce them though, because like with Zara, first like all the technology turns off and then it's like dark in the office and they're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then he appears like, "Hey,"
and then the other guy uses a giant woman to let the Earth know he's here.
Giant woman. Yes. But still, I think the what little plot there is so basic enough that they could pretty much just put in who they wanted, what they wanted, and it would still feel pretty okay with for the plot. But I'm just saying they should have added Keemerman. They should have added a couple more monsters to really, huh?
I'd like to say I feel like when I saw a lot of reactions on Twitter and stuff. Always a bad decision. But never. I feel like a lot of people who've seen this thing really like to undersell the plot or the writing of it. And there's certain different aspects, like apparently Hideaki Anno is, I guess, expected to put like politics in everything he does, and everyone's like, "Oh, Shin Ultraman doesn't have any politics," which I disagree.
Yeah, I
Like
don't.
the
Okay,
entire
I do not
movie
think
is
so.
literally about how the government
Oh,
reacts
yeah.
to Ultraman.
They're like complaining about the bureaucratic red tape and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not the
There's
same
never not
type
a
of
scene where the
political.
government is trying to react to the just like, yeah, let's let Ultraman do what he does what he wants.
Yeah,
But
it's not the same type of political messaging as in Shin Godzilla, but it's still very overtly political.
I also like I feel like even if you feel like there is no plot in this, the character writing of Lepia I think is more than enough. Every scene he had where he got to talk to like one of the aliens that came to the planet, or with one of the members of like the little like hero team, I always enjoyed it. My favorite scene is the one where he talks to the giant woman guy on the swing set. I
That
don't
was
know his name, I'm calling him
that was
giant woman.
Mephilas.
Yeah.
That was Mephilas.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they were at
Like
the and continued.
I like the framing of the scene. I like that while even though he was wearing all white, he was sitting down on the swing. The other guy was standing while wearing all black. It's like this little dynamic, this divide, and then how they talk differently and how they just feel differently about humanity. It's so interesting.
The sudden tone shift in that scene was also so well done. Because it makes you feel so at ease at first with everyone playing in the playground, and then by the end of the conversation, it's just fucking empty.
Yeah.
You also have a similar
Yeah.
scene like that with that character, like with them in the bar, and I also really adore that scene.
Yeah, all the characterization, what there is. I mean, the rest of the team doesn't have that much, but what there is, I think, is still pretty good. It's still pretty memorable, especially with Shinji Kamigana or slash Lipia. I think all of it really ties together some of
Honestly-
Anno's political themes too.
The most I remember about the crew is that there was one guy near the end that was like, "I don't know if I can math my way out of this one," and then he does.
With his
and,
Magica mug.
And then there's the main girl whose main thing was like, "Can I trust Ultraman?" And her other character trait is that she likes to like slap butts to motivate people. And I was like, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so it was slap butts. I kept on thinking she was grabbing her thighs or something. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Oh!
Here comes a
Liz.
new challenger.
Hey there. I sorely apologize for being 30 minutes late.
Liz, introduce yourself and chill.
Hi, I'm Liz.
Yes.
I write a lot of Marcos's videos. I really like Shin Ultraman.
Basically the real Marcos over here.
Oh!
Wow. I see. Anyway,
You're cracking a conspiracy that I didn't even know about.
Everybody say hi, Liz.
hi.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz. So to catch up with a little bit, tell us your initial thoughts on Shin Ultraman.
Okay, so I think that Shin Ultraman is more so an anthropology project than it is a it's very much like a love letter to like Ultraman in general, but in its bare essence, it's a very optimistic and worthwhile like look at just like human interactions between each other and just like trying to like fit it all together in this whole like just trying to understand the puzzle pieces and then like and then just trying to like I'm sorry, I sort of like woke up about like 20 minutes ago and then I was lying in bed and then I realized, oh, and then I immediately like got up but I have orange juice. But what I'm trying to say
It's all
is
good.
that Shin Ultraman is one of the most optimistic movies I've ever seen.
Hooray!
That's
It's
ironic.
yeah, it's sort of like an ironic twist on like the creative minds behind it, like their whole careers like beforehand. You've got Shinji Iguchi and Hideaki Anno, who's they've mostly worked on Evangelion before. Like that's what most people kind of know him from. But Hideaki Anno is sort of in this very specific spot where he sort of has this very particular interest in philosophy and like anthropology that I believe that so, like in Gunbuster there's this character named with Gunbuster being like the one of the first few really big OVAs that Hideaki Anno worked on. There's a character in there named Jung Freud, which kind of like knowing Jung and knowing Freud is something that kind of helps you along the way with understanding Evangelion. So it's kind of like an interesting aspect to sort of like if you're taking like philosophy classes in high school or something, then that's like a good pointer to go off from. And sure, Evangelion does end up being a pretty depressive tale. I still ultimately feel like End of Eva ends on a good note, but I feel like Shin Ultraman specifically is like the logical end point of that, where it's sort of like goes through. It's sort of karmic in a way, where here you are with this like here you are with like an understanding of the human element and like how you can like get better, how you can like improve as a person, and I feel like it's sort of very smart in the way that the character Shinji Kaminaga was already sort of like a loner type person, just barely hinted upon, and then it's sort of when Ultraman just kind of borrows his body for a bit. It sort of like comes across as though this character is still kind of wrestling with what it means to be human, and it works not only contextually like as Ultraman himself, but it also works in the broader scheme of you already having Evangelion, you already have Shin Godzilla, and just these like very drastic and just kind of horrifying reminders of just the hardships of being alive. But now here's Shin Ultraman, which it makes it kind of like puts it all together and tries to make something nice out of it. And it's a very sort of true story to me. I feel it's and I also at the same time feel like Shin Ultraman is one of those might be one of the harder entries of Hideaki Anno's career, that it's one of the harder entries to like understand. Like I feel like there's definitely like a filter that of people like like you got to kind of get through. Like of course you like it helps knowing Evangelion and Shin Godzilla beforehand, but it also is worth knowing like especially like the book that Kaminaga was reading, The Savage Mind by Levi Strauss, which is kind of awesome. I kind of like fist pumped when I saw that, because it's totally like Hideaki Anno like just fully indulging on just very like very specific philosophy and like trying to engage with works like that, and it's it's kind of nice to see. And
Madoka Magica Cup.
Yes.
oh my gosh, with QB on it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, wait, was that like a prop in the movie? I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh my
someone's
gosh.
one of the they're still referred to as the triple SP in the movie. Yeah, the triple SP, one of the mugs. I think it was of the girl with the glasses at channelawesome.com. No,
Yumi.
Yeah,
Yumi, thank you, yeah.
You mean like so? It's the scene right when they're trying to figure out the plank brain
Yeah, it's
formula, and
yeah.
and Yumi like puts down a cup and like there's a silhouette of QB on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
I don't know Madoka Magica, so I'm like, oh, isn't that the cat from Madoka Magica? I know about what happens. I know it's not your average magical girl show. I know all that shtick.
It ain't your grandma's magical girl show.
I know that.
Yeah.
Wow. So Liz pretty much caught up with everything there at the of everything we pretty much talked about. But
Yeah.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Don't say anything.
okay, never mind.
I'm getting
So anyway,
I agree that I think Shin Ultraman is a very optimistic movie. I'd even argue like that stays true even for the end, even when like Zafi and Ultraman Lepia is like floating through the fucking Wucky Ultraman dimension, and Zafi is like,
My favorite place.
dude, you can't return to Earth, like you're gonna die, and he's like, oh.
Oh no.
Yeah, I love that. I love that scene, especially because in the original Ultraman, it's there's like an added context of Ultraman being 20,000 years old and feeling like I lived long enough. You can just give my life to Hayata if you want. And then Zafi's like, it's okay. I brought 2 lives. And then but this is different. This is different. It's more. There's more of a.
Yeah.
There are more stakes upon this, where it's like, man, that talk at the very end is like, kind of the way that they like that Zafi and Ultraman like talk to each other in the entire movie is like so unnatural. It's like it's not like so you know how in Shin Godzilla there's so much like there's so much of a hierarchy going on. They're like literally every single action like that is taken in Shin Godzilla is preceded by constant debates, constant talking, and just like and what I love about Shin Ultraman is like it's trying to like break away from that, and especially like early on in the movie there are still the kind of military titles, there are still political positions like listed on screen just like Shin Godzilla, but the movie's trying to break away from that. It's kind of very choice. It's very like really neat to look at because this is like I feel like that's a very deliberate choice in trying to stay away from what Shin Godzilla was doing, or just like trying to comment on in like a broader sense the government like not really involving the human element too well. Like I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, sorry.
I can go first.
I was gonna say I feel like that optimistic tone is reflected really well in the movie's portrayal of humanity.
Yes.
Because I really like, because I think Shin Godzilla had a very, very cynical approach towards how it portrayed humanity. Not necessarily in that humanity is evil, but humanity is very, very flawed. And Shin Ultraman doesn't necessarily shy away from flaws, but it makes it very, very clear that humanity can always overcome them. And that Ultraman always has faith in humanity to do that.
Exactly. That's why Ultraman like sort of gives Taki the tools to do so, because like it's like totally like understanding like you try to have some hope in yourself, man.
Yeah,
you gotta work this out. You're human. You're awesome, man.
And
Much
that,
like
that, com-
Parappa,
that
I
oh,
gotta believe.
that
Yeah.
conversation that Taki had with oh wait, no, it wasn't even a conversation. It was Taki reading like the letter
Yeah.
that Shinji
Yeah.
had left him. That reminded me of a quote from Ultraman Tiga, where Captain Iduma was basically saying like Ultraman is not a god. He isn't here to like solve all of humanity's problems, but he helps us be better people.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to talk
That-
more about that. I'm sorry, what were you trying to say, Liz?
I was just about to say that was like in the Granithor last arc, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that theme of the over reliance on Ultraman coming in to save the day is heavily touched upon when we get to I'm going through my memory. Oh, when we get to the end of the 66 show, there's a few episodes that kind of touch on this. Specifically, I believe it is the episode that features the repurposed Gigan suit that also involves the resurrection of Pigmon. That's episode 37, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember because I was in my script for History of Ultraman 66, so still on the YouTube channel. So in that one, Ide kind of goes through a crisis because Ide on the show, in the original 66 show, we kind of get Ide in 66, but he's kind of split into Yumi and I believe the kid was named Taki. The one with the math mug. I'm gonna math
Yep.
my way. Yeah,
Yes.
Taki. Thank you. So Taki and Yumi are kind of split into like Ide. They're both like the sciencey type of people. I think more so Taki because he does more so the math. And if we know anything about science, it involves a lot of math. Anyways, specifically Ide is like the big inventor guy. He comes up with all the weapons for the triple SP, the traditional. I forget what the gun's called. My memory escapes me. I am such a failure. But he also came up with the gun that was like more modular, had like different attachments.
Spider
specific. Yes, thank you. So
yeah.
the main
because Hayato says it like, and it like I don't know why that one scene where Hayato talks to Ide about like all the stuff he made, like it's very cemented in my mind.
Yeah, so basically the key thing to take away from Ide is that he's like the key to inventing everything, which helps until Ultraman arrives and he just kind of like, oh no, we can't do anything. Ultraman, go, take care of it, and then he does, and then that becomes like a plot point later in episode 37. This is why I mentioned episode 37 because Ide is like, who gives a shit? Ultraman's just gonna take care of it. Why should I even bother? He's just gonna do it. My adventures they don't work. Then we're gonna kind of go through a crisis where he feels useless. So that's when Ultraman decides, like, as a ploy, I think he's about to suplex. I forget the repurposed Gigan suit. It's like black and white with cracks on it. I can't remember the name. Holy crap! It's gonna drive me nuts. But he's like kind of like holding him up in the air, and then he like gives like a reassuring nod to Ide to like, hey, go shoot it. Which that kind of leads to Ide kind of feeling more repurposed to use that like one hit shot kaiju weapon. But the whole point of that is that it was touching on the theme of like he's not going to solve, like what Mako was saying, that you can't rely on Ultraman for your problems. And then that's kind of like Ultraman throwing a bone to Ide, and they expand more upon that in the film, specifically when, like as you said, he leaves the plank
Brain.
The plank brain.
the plank brain. I kept on wanting to call it the Makarov conjecture, but that's an entirely different equation. The plank brain math, right, to solve everything, and he specifically says, I want you guys to come to the conclusion, not just like do what Mephiles did and hand you over the technology. I want you to come to that conclusion and like overcome it and whatnot. And that's actually even furthermore touched upon, and we're going back to the 66 show because there's always been that theme of like don't rely on Ultraman, at least in a few instances of the show. For example, like Momako said, Tiga, and then in Ultraman 66. So in the final I'm going to talk about the final episode. The final episode of Ultraman 1966. Ultraman can't defeat Zedon. He doesn't. He actually fails. And that kind of becomes a reoccurring plot point in that new anime / manga. I say new, but you know what I mean. The one that's on Netflix.
Right.
Arashi, at the final episode, Arashi, he was kind of like the big, like, kind of stocky, semi, like, plump guy. He was like the weapons, like, shoot first guy. He liked the weapons. He was heavy weapons guy. He actually ends up killing Zedon, but that was more so kind of touching back to episode 37, more of like the idea of like you can't rely on Ultraman. So that's when the Triple SP actually takes out the final big bad and calls it well, I wouldn't say call it a day, but that happens, and then Hayato loses his memory because they separate. But yeah, but that was like one of my favorite things, like philosophically speaking, if it is philosophical, in the Shin Ultraman film, how it like how they kind of do like something different, but it's more so of the same thing of don't rely on Ultraman to solve your problems all the time.
I really like that moment where they're like, all right, it's time for Ultraman to try and take down Zedon. He's gonna do it. And everyone's like watching him go up in the sky, and they're like, you can do it, Ultraman. We're counting on you. And then he gets obliterated and falls back to the earth and lands in the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh fuck, Ultraman can't do it. We're screwed. We can't get out of this one.
But at least the effects were pretty. Like when he had the giant buzzsaw,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah.
That was
And
awesome.
it's separated into like 5 other buzzsaws.
Yeah, like even though humanity was gonna die, at least it looked cool.
Yeah.
I just really love like, oh man, Ultraman can't do it. Man, we can't do it. Let's just give up.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't get the point of him trying that the first time around, but when I rewatched it, like they had a line in there at some point. It was like Zeton needs to recharge after like unleashing that barrage, and then I realized like okay, like Ultraman knew he wasn't going to defeat Zeton. He was buying time for the humans to be able to like solve that equation.
Wow.
So that was his real plan.
Yeah, and that's so choice. Like everything like is so intentional and just like specific that it feels like Ultraman really is just like Ultraman and Zoffy are very specifically weird, like higher intellects, and this is how this is how they're like playing like an advanced like chess game against each other when it's just
that scene and everything across the movie really falls into my kind of favorite theme of the movie, of just while humanity sees Ultraman as this like god like savior that's come down from nowhere to be their hero and be their protector and be their champion, they give Ultraman such a fleshed out character. They give him the Lepia is such a fleshed out character that every time he interacts with like another alien or another human being from the team or whoever is the big bad at the current stage of the movie, we always get lines that always suggest that he doesn't agree with how humanity sees him, and we see that through when other people question his morality and his intentions, that he is just as flawed as any other human can be, and even especially when Zoffy comes around and starts to really challenge him about everything. Because I just thought, oh, Giants of Light, yeah, they save people, they protect the galaxy, and Zoffy's like, dude, what the fuck? You can't let humanity know about us now. They gotta die.
Yeah.
yeah.
I really liked the lines that they had in the conversation with Mephiles and Zoffy that sort of implied that merging with Shinji influenced Ultraman's sense of morality.
Oh yeah.
You're half human now. That must be
Yeah.
the human in you talking. It's like it's very interesting. Like I really love that.
I just really like the whole thing of just them finding out Ultraman is no god, and it only takes him getting blasted out of the sky for them to finally realize, like, oh, he's kind of just like us, for real.
Oh.
Just like me.
Wow. I think one of my favorite moments in Shin Ultraman was finding out that Mephiles was also Kamen Rider Ichigata from the Zero movie.
Oh shit.
He's dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's.
Oh my god.
He's dad
You're
and
right.
the devil.
Yeah.
Yo.
All I'm saying is that
I'm
Black
glad
Sun
that
would
he's
obliterate Ichigata.
In general, the cast in this movie is like obviously Nishijima. He's in Drive My Car. He's in Black Sun. He's doing pretty good right now. It's like this is like such a great movie to watch just to like legitimize the genre of tokusatsu. It just
Right.
feels like
Oh yeah.
what everybody knows already is that it's a very cinematic genre. It's already like such a it's already has all these techniques in place that makes you understand that this is a legitimate like genre of film. This is a legitimate genre of television. It goes without saying that as long as that this kind of ties back to the history of cinema itself, where that like yeah, God, what?
Argus went hee hee.
Anyway,
yes.
Sorry.
so Godzilla from 1954 was obviously like a kind of a landmark film, and then you got Ultra Q and Ultraman. They were like the highest budget television shows like internationally for their time, which is kind of insane. And it's so like nice to see just like have this kind of an auteurish like handle on Ultraman from Shinji Iguchi and Hideaki Anno, and for a really good cast to boot. Like this is one of my favorite like science teams. Like, you know, and people, I know people don't really like them generally, but I kind of actually love them. They're very practical and very real as just like a group of people who know what to do in the situation.
All I'm saying is that my top 3 Toku of the year includes Shin Ultraman and Black Sun. So that main actor, you gotta be doing something right. So yeah, there has to be somebody.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, Nijishima just radiates charisma.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He has done both the Giant of Light hero dude and also the ketamine addict whose life is going down. He got range. Black Sun is crazy.
I wish that Kotaro Minami from Black Sun like had a Twitter account. I just want to see what he tweet on ketamine.
I
just got the plug, just came in clutch.
Something I've seen on Twitter from, I guess, like people who are kind of just general fans of Toku, maybe, or maybe only like kaiju only fans. For some reason, there's a whole thing going on of them saying, well, look at 2022, we got Shin Ultraman. Ultraman's finally back from being dead. And I was like, Ultraman's always what?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, for some reason, just don't know that he's making shows and streaming them internationally on YouTube with multi-language subs.
And that's weird because like these streams get like millions of views. Like, where are you at? Where have you been?
People really do be sleeping on Ultraman, including me.
Wow, this is how Power Rangers fan feels like.
Yeah, but lucky for everyone to know is that there's going to be an international. Well, I shouldn't say it, but just a U.S. like wide release on January 6th.
Yes.
If there's one at my theater, I'm gonna go at least 10 times.
Yeah.
Do we know if there's been any European release dates confirmed yet?
Possibly. I think you could check the main website for Shin Ultraman because that's when they also announced, like, hey, we're doing Singapore. We're gonna do North America at some point.
Yeah. I haven't heard of
there's
European.
Been like some Singapore air showings. I think there was. Yeah, there was. I think Mexico had like a showing there too, which is kind of cool. But also, it's still not like a general release. It's
what I need to see, because they also announced not only are they releasing sub versions, but they're doing dubbed versions, and I need to watch that version of Shin Ultraman.
Yeah. Wait, do we know who's handling the dub? Like what
no,
company?
I don't think so.
Well.
It might be Funimation, like Shin
because they did, because I was gonna say they did the Shin Goji dub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think
Shin Ultraman.
I realized that I was being like very impatient to watch Shin Ultraman in theaters, but at the same time, this is sort of lining up with how Shin Godzilla came out.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's fine, you know.
Yeah.
If you, like, this is just how it's timed.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even though I already saw Shin Ultraman through Method, I'm definitely gonna go see it again in the theaters if I can.
Yeah, I definitely am too. I'm gonna try to go for both days. Also, isn't it weird that it's just a 2-day event?
I thought it was gonna be bigger, which leaves me very concerned with Shin Kamen Rider.
In the middle
I
of
know
the
they're
week.
different companies. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'm,
also weird.
Yeah, but at the very least, it's going to be at every AMC, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's sort of what like those. I forget what it's called. It's not fandom events. But
Fathom
it's
events.
Fathom.
Fathom.
Yeah,
Fathom events that
Fathom.
they sort of do that.
Yeah, Fathom also doesn't just do AMC. I'm pretty sure they do other theaters, which I hope so because I live in the middle of the forest, which means there's not many AMC theaters near me. There are
Yes.
beavers.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of awesome in a very weird way of just like going into a theater and just watching Doctor Who Logopolis, which is the last Tom Baker story, like in theaters. Like they just had him up. Like once in a while, that's kind of fun. But
Yeah.
when
wow.
we're dealing with Shin Ultraman, oh my god, put it in theaters for a month,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
a week, not
Wait,
just
so
2 days. God.
Yeah, you could have done what my
For
what my
2
friend
days,
said.
you can be larger than life.
Are
Yeah.
the international distributions for Shin Ultraman and Shin Godzilla handled by different companies?
I believe so. It kind of
Yeah.
varies.
Because Fathom Events is like an American like thing because they like Liz mentioned they do Doctor Who, they do other things. Although this isn't technically the first time Shin Ultraman has been in America in the theaters. It was obviously it did its circuit via film festivals,
Oh,
so this is
yeah.
kind of like a
Right.
second theatrical. Yeah. I want to kick my friend Ferris in the because he got to go to Fantastic Fest at Alamo Draft House, where they
That's
also
the
got to,
theater.
yeah, and he also got to meet Shinji Higuchi and did like a Q&A, and he got to like take a picture with him. Lucky bastard. But yeah, so they definitely been like, this isn't, I think this is kind of like I wouldn't say like a last hurrah, like it needs it. More so say they're just like, yeah, let's do it again. Because it's already been doing it's been hitting all the film festival circuits in America,
Not on the West Coast.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I love this movie, and I hope the best for it, and I'm sure the dub is actually going to be like pretty high quality. But a small part of me kind of hopes it's like full of awkward deliveries, just some nobody cast members. For some reason, I want them to throw in the Ultraman Tika 4Kids theme.
Oh my god.
No.
Dang. Okay,
There's
so
Ultraman.
we reached that time. Don, final
Yes!
thoughts in 2 sentences or less.
Very good movie. Go watch in theater. Yes.
Gia.
Hideaki Anno has definitely given me faith that Shin Kamen Rider will be good. I can't wait to see it. Larger than life.
Liz.
This movie is very, very good. I ran it down in a Letterboxd review, and if you want to check that out, I guess. Otherwise, please go see this in January. Like, oh my god, please! This is a great movie. It's so good.
The money
Larger
talks.
than life.
Mako Matari.
As an Ultraman fan, I really love this movie, but it's the kind of movie that I can feel really confident in recommending to my friends who aren't even Ultraman fans or even Toku fans.
Hi.
Marcos.
It's
Pretty good.
Yes.
It's kind of a perfect movie to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen it like a whole bunch of times, just like on my own.
Same.
And I gather notes.
Yep.
Did you know that the flying pose of Ultraman is just based off of one of the original models of Ultraman flying?
Yeah.
that was one of the early things that came up in the discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay.
actually, I do have a question for Liz. Lipia, the name of Lipia. I know that's like Ultraman's like real name. Which manga did that come from? Because that was from a manga, right?
It actually did not come from a manga.
Wow.
There were several. Like the one that Crod came from. If you remember him, he's like Ultraman's friend or something who
Okay.
died, and then Bemular that made him chase after Bemular. Ultraman's real name, I think it varies.
Right. So Lipiak didn't come from a manga? Because I thought it was from a manga.
Yeah, it's
It was like a light novel.
I gotta look into it. I that's actually what I don't know about.
Okay.
His name should be Craig.
Oh my god.
Craig the Ultraman.
He's Craig from IT. Yeah.
Ultraman Craig.
With all that being said, Shin Ultra 7 win.
That is on that is actually on the docket for Super Riot, believe it or not.
When
Wait,
is
are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
when is Shinji'd? I'm asking for a lot, but it's the only one I care about.
Wow.
I just hope that the science team is back for whatever, because they're one of my favorite. Like again, they're such a good cast of characters.
I hope we get to see Lipia in light jail.
Oh my
Light
god.
jail.
It's just a bunch of flashlights on the ceiling and floor.
Yeah, if you want more Jeed content, they are releasing a sequel manga to it.
Yeah, that's a cool guy that looks like the dude from Promare.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. Everybody on 3.
1,
2.